Welcome everybody to another episode of Community Voices. Hope everybody's doing well today. Today for this episode, we are joined by Seattle Seahawks Safety, a man who is a beast on the field again, like a beast on the field. Not even kidding, for real, for real. Julian Love, thank you for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate you joining us. Me fresh off like games, like it's just like to even get you at this moment. I appreciate it because I know the season's busy in the beginning, so.
Yeah, it's a little hectic, but fresh off a win, and so yeah, I'm happy to be with you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So let me go ahead and get to it. First off, actually, how are you feeling fresh off a game? How are you feeling fresh off a win, fresh off a game? How does it feel?
Emotionally, I feel pretty good. It's always good to get a win. It's hard to win this league, and so we every morning you make sure you celebrate and enjoy. And physically, after a game, I don't feel great. It's pretty much like you go all out, and then the rest of the week is like build back up to the next Sunday to then do it again, and it's just a constant cycle of a season.
I can't imagine and you doing it with a smile. At least right now, you're doing it with a smile. So
You love it. You gotta love it. I love what I do, and that's just part of it. And I don't know, that's how football is. You go, it's a violent sport, and I love it because of that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I want to tap into something. I know I mentioned, we are right now, it's September 22nd. I think by the time this drops, it may be closer towards October. But
Hmm.
as of this moment, we are September 26th. Yeah, September 27th. Look at the calendar. Like, what day is it?
Yeah.
September 26th. I want to, we're still at the kind of tail end of Hispanic Heritage Month.
Mhm.
Um, again, I said in the last episode, I was going to reiterate it in this episode. I love that we're able to like highlight and really speak about the month and its historical relevance in these times. But again, I always am saying continue to like just do the research and the community give back and just the community building, no matter what month it is, continuously
Mhm.
throughout the year, making sure that it goes beyond those times. Hispanic Heritage Month for me, I know means a big thing. I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas, which has a vast demographic of Hispanic Latinos,
Mhm.
and I grew up with a totally different appreciation for the culture and being immersed in things like that. So it always had like a special spot in my heart. I would love to know for you, what does Hispanic Heritage Month kind of mean towards you, and like how has that how has being involved in the community in that sense, kind of like shaped you?
Yeah, I think, well, one, it means a lot because, I'm Hispanic. It makes me initially just think about like my mom, my grandparents, my godmother, all who, were foundational raising me and are Latino. Um, and yeah, I think just getting back to the community is like I grew up in that community. I grew up in Logan Square, Chicago, predominantly Hispanic area. Spent a lot of time, Humboldt Park over there. And I don't know, every sport I was doing growing up, all my friends, all my family over there, we just kind of knew what it was to be immersed in the culture. Um, and so I think to me doing my small part, obviously I'm in a different, way different spot now than growing up. I don't know, I always try to reflect on kind of what got me here and where I came from.
I love it. And you mentioned like, like growing up in Chicago and like just like the community there from the family and just like neighborhood aspect. What was it like experiencing community in that way? Not just through family, but through sports. Because I know you're playing sports early
Hmm.
on. So what was that like? I'm sure that could be. It's a similar level and understanding what community and like friends are, but then also it's like it's a different way. It's a different form of sport. It's more, it's just like a
Yeah.
different connection. What was that like?
Yeah, sports obviously is very near and dear to my heart because uh it was important growing up. Just I was making friends. All my relationships, it felt like it was through some sport, whether it was football, whether it was basketball, baseball, wrestling, whatever. And some of my favorite memories of being a kid was just like importantly having fun playing sports.
Mm,
I emphasize the fun part because kids now you got to make sure that that's at the forefront of everything you're doing.
yeah.
You're not trying to make the NFL at 10 years old. You're trying to have fun and just battle through adversity with your friends. And so it's near and dear to my heart because of that. And some of my relationships still, as I'm grown, are with people that I've played pee wee ball with, and so it's very important to me.
I love it. Do you feel like early on too, like, did you have any, granted again, like, when you're little, your inspirations to like what you want to do change. So you're probably so admiring people that you think are cool or like things you kind
Hmm.
of gravitate to. When you get a little older, you become like a teen or going into that like young adult phase, I think you start getting um role models or like people who inspire you that like are starting to lead you to where you want to go. Did you have
Hmm.
any of those like growing up too?
Honestly, like, no. I mean, my dad obviously was a great role model,
For sure.
just because, he was someone I respected that, had a lot of respect in the community, and was always engaged in everything we were doing as a family, me and my siblings. But talk about if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up as a kid, I probably would have said NFL, honestly, like an NFL player, professional athlete of some sort. But I feel like as a kid, I said in the same sense as like a kid says, I want to be a superhero when I grow up. Like I want to
Yeah.
be the Flash, like something like that. It was
Did
not
you have
really
any
a
like role
thing.
models? Was it like any like players or like
No.
somebody who you were like, oh, like
I
that's
I
the
mean,
dream?
I love some players, like, being from Chicago, that era was kinda like Devin Hester,
Yeah,
Peanut Tillman, like that, era, the Bears guys. I love Ray Lewis growing up, Ed Reed. Like, I had favorite players, but it's like in every
yeah,
sport. I was always a LeBron fan, Derrick Rose. I like people and so like, man, those guys are the best.
yeah,
But I don't know, I think it was until, like, really I was in, like, college or getting into college that I'm like, "Wait, I can maybe do that as well." It was always just, like, I don't know, kind of, like, mystified, until I got, like, real close to doing it.
yeah. Was there ever a moment where like, when you were kind of having that moment where you were like, man, like I really have the skill, the ability, potential, the opportunity to really do this.
Mm,
What was for you? What was the ticking point where it was like, I'm gonna do it? Like, because it's one thing to
mhm,
think you can do it, but that has to turn into an action or it won't happen. So, like, what was that moment in
exactly.
between that you said the other side of like knowing you can do it?
Yeah, there was really 3 phases kind of I don't know, that's like me being a football player. Like, I would say, like, growing up, like, grade school, even into high school, I was like no, grade school, I was just like, "I'm good at football. I'm the best in my little community, my area. And I love playing it. I'm just gonna play it." And then, at a certain point in high school, I get like a college offer. I'm like, wait, I can play in college. Like I could get like my tuition paid for. And that's kind of what it was more so of sense of like free education. I was thinking I'm gonna go to college and then go to the league. I'm thinking, wow, I get to go to a school for free. My parents don't have to worry about it. That was like the next phase of it. And then maybe my second year in college. I had a great year, then, like, the agents start calling and, like, it gets very real, mock drafts start popping up, and, that's when I'm like, "Oh, man, I could play the league." Like, it was very a step-by-step kinda realization, um, yeah, and I would credit to honestly, like, each step just having gratitude to, like, the place I was in. I was never
Mhm.
trying to, like, get to that next step. I was just enjoying kinda where I was at, and then it naturally kinda came.
It reminds me of I think it was like a book I read called Atomic Habits, and it was basically like if you
Mm,
just focus on like the consistency and discipline of just like doing, like getting better every day, and like focus on like the strategy that you build for
yeah,
your life, then like then the things that the goals or the dreams, whatever, will happen as a consequence. But if you focus on the goal,
mm,
then like you hit that goal, and it's like what's next. So I feel like like the way that you even approached it was like
yeah,
this
that's
stayed
real.
here, stayed true, and then now things just started coming because of the process I built. Like that's like perfect.
No, that's real, and to this day, I I just try to enjoy it, like, have fun, kinda keep that kid-like spirit of playing the game, uh, and then just, miracles are happening for me, which is great.
I love that. I love that. Now, also too, we talked about you being from Chicago. Now you're in
Mhm.
Seattle. I want to also mention before we go further too, because we're going to be donating 8K to your foundation. Make sure you continue to give back, have a community
Yeah.
impact. I would love to just know, like, how has the change been just moving from place to place? I think it was from Chicago to New York to Seattle. Like,
Mhm.
how has all that jumping and moving been? And like, what I'll start there and I'll ask the next part of that question after. But how has all that moving been?
I mean, it can be a whirlwind for sure, you know, Chicago out to New York was very exciting. It's like the first place I ever, I moved to. I was always a Chicago kid. College was nearby. It was an hour and a half away in Indiana. Um, and to go out to New York, man, we loved it. I've been fortunate to be around places with good food. And so it was Chicago, New York was real seamless. And then coming out to Seattle was honestly the biggest change just because it was so
Yeah,
far from everything. I was always
yeah,
Midwest, kind of East Coast. And to come out here was a little scary at first, honestly, just kind of for me and my family, just because like it was very unknown. Um, but just like any place, like we kind of got involved with the community, involved with the food scene. I feel like food was a great connection between all the places I've loved. And now, year three out here, we're moving and grooving, and we love it out here.
I love that. I love that. And I want to, I could talk all day, but I want to make sure I respect your time too. But I want to ask
You're
one more
good.
question. And I want to kind of end this on the note of community.
Mm,
I think you talked about Chicago. We talked about the different levels of community, from family to sports, just to being like your home state. You know what I mean? Always being there, always going back home, and just getting a truce into community when you're really back there. But at the same
mhm,
time, in these new places, you probably develop a different kind of community, whether it's friends or business partners, whatever it is, from New York to Seattle.
mhm.
How does it feel to now be in a place where you're developing community in these different places, and what does it feel like to just like have a direct impact on your hometown when you can't like going back and like giving back to Chicago directly? Like, what are those
Yeah,
adjustments in community feeling like?
yeah. That's a great question. I'll start off with Chicago. I feel like Chicago, I have been all around the city. I feel like I've established myself in each part of the city, and it's special because I'm connected to a lot of parts of the city, whether that's north side, kind of where I grew up, the west side where I played high school ball and kind of got my name known, and south side, kind of where I had some friends and did some sports and so each part of the city I can reflect on and kind of understand the different areas and how I want to impact it. So a lot of my Chicago stuff is one, I just try to be accessible to the whole city. I started doing a free youth camp, because I didn't have anybody that I knew that was in NFL. I feel like that would have been really, really cool as a
Yeah,
kid to like, man, like that guy, he lived in my town, and he's in NFL, and I try to be that for my town. When I'm back out there, that's why I do kind of the sports related things, and then some of the other stuff is like I, had friends that came and went. Inner city Chicago can be tough at times, and so I definitely try to repay respect and give back in that sort of way to the city, because I feel like I owe it to the city for you know it was just a part of my life growing up, and so that's kind of like twofold of Chicago. Then um, in New York and Seattle, I am a public figure on a NFL team. Um, in the same kind of sense of like I want to be accessible to my community back home, for sure. I want to do that same for the community. Like these people, like the fans. I'll talk about Seattle. The fans in Seattle. Like I think about it in a sense of, a win on a Sunday can make so many people feel really good going into work on Monday.
mm,
Like a good season just has been some of the best times of my life, and I know it's the best time of the community's life, especially the 12s out here in Seattle. They go
yeah.
hard and they care about their team. Um, and so I try to just tap in. I try to, be present. And I don't fail to sign autographs, do whatever, because these people are looking at me like I'm some superhero, the way I thought about NFL players when I was a kid. Um, and, the actuality is it's crazy because I don't know what value my signature has on anything. Uh, but people find value in it. And so I just try to take time and be patient. But that's kind of where it comes from. That's the meaning kind of in my mind, how I make up a small piece of this kind of giant puzzle. And so, yeah.
I love that, and I think your your entrance into the game, I think, is the same kind of work ethic that you said you still have now, but to
Hmm.
that point of like your value, your signature. I think again that if that same process continues in the NFL, then it's no doubt that your signature is going to have more value because the team's going to get greater, your placement's going to get better, your position's going to get better. Like I
Hmm.
can only imagine. So like again, your value depends on you, but I know it's only going to get higher with that work ethic, man, because you're killing it. And I'm not even playing. I'm not even lying. I'm not even making this up. I've been very, very, very excited to see the Seahawks play this year. Like
Yeah.
it's looking and feeling like a very different team. I think
Mm-hmm.
people might be sleeping, but I'm like, all right, when we get to that
Uh-huh.
10, 11, 12, I'm like, yeah, told y'all. So it's looking good.
Yeah, no, I need to keep sleeping because yeah, we feel real good about what we have going on. Yeah, it's gonna be a marathon, but we're ready for that for this moment. And yeah, we're off to a pretty good start so far.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, I don't want to hold you up any longer. I am very grateful and appreciative for the work that you do community wise. And just, I think, the work you do, the time for today, and also just like, again, I think this conversation and your mentality and approach to the game and life is something that people can all learn from, no matter what they're doing. So much, much appreciate you for joining us and just for everything you do. And, being a hero to people and, you never know who you're inspiring at the end of the day. So I always
Yeah.
say the way you're carrying yourself is exactly to that point. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for talking. As always, I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of Community Voices. Until next time, take care.